Now, let me read the questions dealing with my own plans and with Watergate. Where were you the night they bugged the Watergate? You played central roles in the historic developments, the opening to China and the U.S. withdrawal from Vietnam. With these accomplishments behind you, what keeps you in the government? That comes from the State Department. Will you comment on reports that Watergate is influencing your decisions on returning to private life? You're among the men closest to the president. Does he show any feeling that he was betrayed over Watergate? Now, with respect to the first question, I usually have excellent alibis for my evenings. With respect to to the other questions, let me do them in two parts. One, those that refer to my own plans, and then secondly, whatever impact Watergate may have on foreign policy. With respect to my own plans, I have never been very explicit about them, partly because I have always believed that I should leave at a moment when some major task had been accomplished, and when the transfer of responsibility could occur under conditions that assured continuity and that made it clear that the position was not held for personal motives entirely, which is always difficult to separate. Now, at this moment, it is not the time for senior officials of the administration to talk about their resignation until the framework of the future becomes clearer, and it depends, of course, also on the president's conception of what one's duties are. Now, with respect to the general questions of Watergate, I will not comment on the issue itself, except perhaps on the foreign policy implication. On the case itself, of course, I know many of the people that you all read about. And of course, I know them in a different way than you read about them. And it is difficult to avoid a sense of the awfulness of events, at the tragedy that has befallen so many people who have, for whatever reason, are alleged to have done certain things. So, without prejudging anything, one should at least ask for compassion. With respect to foreign policy, a great deal will depend on how foreign countries will assess the degree of authority in this country and the degree of dedication of the public to the objectives of its foreign policy. I have no question that the President will insist, as he has said publicly, on a full disclosure of the facts. But when that is accomplished and the human tragedies are completed, the country will go on. And then we have to ask ourselves whether we can afford an orgy of recrimination, or whether we should not keep in mind that the United States will be there for longer than any particular crisis, and whether all of us do not then have an obligation to remember that the faith in the country must be maintained, and that the promise of the country should be eternal. Thank you.
Take another bow.